Jon Nessle.
Have a seat, please. Hi, folks. How you doing? I want to share my earliest memory with you. My parents and I were traveling in northeast side of Toledo in our 1950 green station wagon, Chevy station wagon, one with the rounded back. You know, it didn't have the wood paneling on the sides, but it was the classic shape. And I was sitting in the back seat by myself. My parents were in the front seat of the car, and they turned the corner. I bumped up against the door, and it opened up, and I fell out. And I started falling out of the car, and I grabbed for whatever I could grab for, and the only thing there was on the seat beside me was my potty. And so me and my potty tumbled out of the car, and unfortunately it was empty. And so my earliest memory is me on the side of the road at night in the rain, like this, with the potty in my other hand, running after the car. It was just, I was so struck with terror. It was a moment of sheer terror. That's why I remember it. But it turned into comfort and joy because, of course, the car stopped. Mom and Dad got out, and they comforted me, and my mom didn't let go of me for quite a while after that. Today we're going to consider fear and terror and respect and awe, because in Hebrew they are the same word. They are the Hebrew word yareh, which is the verb yareh, to fear or to have in awe, or yirah, the noun, which means fear or terror or awe or reverence. See, in Hebrew, they had fewer words than they have in Greek or in English, and so the words covered a more broad expanse of meaning. And so, the Israelites had no problem understanding this because they could infer from the context what the meaning was, whether it was fear or terror or awe or reverence. In English, the expanse that's covered by the one word in Hebrew is covered by two words in English. You see, there very rarely is a one-to-one correspondence when it comes from translating one language into another. See, Hebrew is Semitic. It's based on Semitic thinking, Semitic philosophy. Totally different language than English. English is Indo-European, totally different language family, and based on a totally different kind of philosophy. Greek philosophy, like Aristotle and Plato. And so there very rarely is a one-to-one correspondence. That's why you need to do word studies to familiarize yourself with the words that are in the Bible, because you just can't go to an English dictionary and find out what they mean. You're going to find out what Webster says they are, but not what Elijah said they were. And so you have to go and do the word study so you can become acquainted with what the word is in Hebrew or in Greek. So the expanse that's covered by the one word in Hebrew is covered by two words in English. We separate it out because, you see, it's interesting. Angels always say, "Fear not," right? But we're supposed to fear God. Isn't that a contradiction? The Bible says we're supposed to love God with all our heart, soul, mind, and strength. We're supposed to fear God, but then it says perfect love casts out fear. How's that fit? Well, the reason it fits is because that word fear in Hebrew has two meanings. It has to hold in awe or respect, but then the other side of that is to be in fear or in terror. And in English, we separate that out into two words. It's interesting because our Western culture is full of fear. It is full of fear. And that's not surprising because our Western culture has become not God-centered. Now, it used to be, when people came over here from Europe to have religious freedom, we used to have a God-centered culture, but it's changed. Now, that's a subject for another day. But one of the things I do whenever I I watch TV and I watch advertising and stuff like that, I like to analyze the motivations for the advertising. Have you ever done that? There's a lot of different motivators to get people to purchase something. And one of the biggest motivators on television, one of the biggest motivators that people use is fear motivation. Sometimes I end up yelling at the TV set. But there's this one commercial where it says, 4 out of 5 doctors recommend this product. And it has them all lined up there, and the 5th doctor starts acting embarrassed because he didn't recommend what the other 4 did. It's pure fear motivation. It's pure shame. And, that makes me mad because I can see a lot of people, they're so used to it, they don't see it. They don't see what's bombing us all the time. So many times in our culture, we do what we ought, not because we should, but we do it because of fear of consequences. And all of this advertising reinforces that. All of this other stuff reinforces that. Of course, the classic example is the speed limit. We're over there at I-75. If you're traveling down I-75 and you took an average of how fast people travel, how fast do people travel on I-75? About 75. Right? Well, what is the speed limit on I-75? 65. Why do people travel 75 when the speed limit is 65? Because they don't like the government's law. They don't like it, right? But why don't they drive 80? Because of fear of consequences, right? Now out in California, they drive 80. It was just surprising. I went out there one time and everybody was just going, choo, choo. So, anyway, a lot of the times people do what they do because of fear of consequences. But do you want to live your life for God like that? Do you want to live for God because of fear of consequences? Look at Proverbs chapter 1. Proverbs chapter 1 has a lot of information about awe or reverence for God. And in verse 1, it says the Proverbs of Solomon, the son of David, king of Israel. And it says the purpose for these Proverbs. First one, verse 2, it says, to know wisdom and instruction, to perceive the words of understanding. You see, it takes a special diet to recognize wisdom and understanding. You have to have been fed some wisdom and understanding in order to recognize more wisdom and understanding, right? So that's one of the purposes of Proverbs, is to get us to the point where we can recognize when we're being taught something that is wise or has understanding. Verse 3, another purpose, to receive instruction of wisdom, to get an appetite for it. You get a little bit of wisdom and it's good. It tastes good. It produces good results. So the tendency is to want more. So that is the purpose of the book of Proverbs. And to receive not only wisdom, but justice and judgment and equity. Now those are rather deep and involved. Justice. You have to have a sense of fairness. You have to have developed a conscience in order to recognize justice or judgment. To make a good decision, you have to have some understanding, right? These are mature terms. Justice, judgment, and equity, fairness. You understand? You have to have received a lot of instruction, tried a lot, lived some life in order to recognize justice, judgment, and equity. Those are mature things. That's the purpose of the book of Proverbs. Verse 4. To give subtlety to the simple. Subtlety, you know what that is? That's cunning. You learn how to be smart. You learn how to be perceptive. To give cunning to the simple. To the young man, to give them knowledge and discretion, purpose in their life. So these are the purposes of the book of Proverbs. Verse 5, the wise man will hear and will increase learning. It just builds. And a man of understanding shall attain unto wise counsels. Another purpose is to understand a proverb and the interpretation, the words of the wise and their dark, deep sayings. You see, a lot of the things written in Proverbs are written in the Semitic idiom, which is very deep, and you just can't speed read it. You have to munch on it for a while. Semitic wording is worded in that way. You have to munch on it. So we're going to munch on some of these things for a bit, okay? And verse 7, here we are. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. The reverence or the awe of the Lord. It says it's the beginning of knowledge. It's the beginning. Consider that. The beginning of knowledge. Why do we seek knowledge? What's our goal when we receive knowledge? The beginning, the inception, the fountainhead, the wellspring, the starting point. The proper starting point of knowledge is awe for God, is reverence for God. See, we're not in the knowledge business because we want knowledge for knowledge's sake. No, we want knowledge because of awe and respect for God. You see the difference in those motivations? And it says the proper motivation for receiving knowledge is reverence and awe and respect for God. It's really interesting. You know, we often emphasize the aspect of curling up in God's lap, but also there is the aspect of worshiping at His feet. And we need to have a balance between those two aspects of approaching God. And the basis of our knowledge, the fountainhead, the beginning, the wellspring, the inception, is that respect and that awe and that obedience for God. Now, it says the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. This fear of the Lord, it's not general. It's not respect for the higher power. No, because we learn the Word and then we learn about God specifically. For example, there are 10 different names for God that Bullinger has in his Appendix 4. There's Jehovah Jireh, the Lord who is our provider. Jehovah Rapha, the Lord our healer. Jehovah Nissi, the Lord our banner. Jehovah Megeskenu, the Lord our sanctifier. Jehovah Shalom, the Lord our peace. Jehovah Zebaoth, the Lord of hosts. Jehovah Zidkenu, the Lord our righteousness. Jehovah Shammah, the Lord who is everywhere present. Jehovah Eliah, the Lord most high. And Jehovah Roy, the Lord our shepherd or our feeder. The Lord is so wonderful. The Lord is so awesome. He is so great. He's so just fantastic. Well, where do we learn about that? We learn about it in the Word. That's how we develop this awe and respect for God that's based on specific things, not just some generality, not just some higher power. Look at Proverbs chapter 2. Proverbs chapter 2, verse 1 says, My son, if you will receive my words and hide my commandments with thee, so that you incline your ear unto wisdom and apply your heart to understanding, yea, if you cry after knowledge and lift up your voice for understanding, if you seek her as silver and searches for her as for hid treasures, then shalt thou understand the awe, the respect of the Lord, and find the knowledge of God. See, when we study the Word, many times we're looking for the knowledge of God. But that's second priority. Right? In verse 5, what's the first priority? Understand the awe, the respect, the just total wonderfulness of the Lord. And how do we get it? We get it from the Word. We have to do a certain list of things. There's 8 things here in chapter 2, verse 1 through 4. We have to receive His words. We have to receive them. Sometimes, we speak words to people and we want them to receive them, but they sort of bounce off or they go clean through, right? We need to receive them. They need to stick in our head a little bit, okay? And we hide God's commandments with us. We memorize them. We put them into our head. We retain them. And then, so that you incline your ear unto wisdom. When we see wisdom's being taught, we incline our ear. I want to hear some of that. And apply your heart to understanding. Part of receiving knowledge is to do it. Why, Mommy? Why, Daddy? Do it and you'll understand. Well, it's true with God. Do it and you'll understand. And we need to have that inclination to apply ourselves. A lot of churches, they're real proud and they're real blessed when their congregation is sitting in all the pews and the church is full and everything. But you know what? That's not the goal. The most important Christianity is what happens outside of the church after you leave. It's what you do about it that's important. Because, everybody can dress up and look nice and sit in the seat for an hour. But what about the rest of the week? What about the rest of the day? We need to apply our heart to understanding, because then we'll understand, we'll see how things work, we'll have success in our life. Yea, if you cry after knowledge, we have to desire it. We have to ask for it. And you know what? One of the greatest prayers that you and I can have is, God, teach me. Teach me, God. I want to know how to do this. Well, then you better fasten your seatbelt, because He will. Teach me. You cry after knowledge and lift up your voice for understanding and seek her as silver and search for her as for hid treasures. See, we got the treasure map. It's the Word of God. And if we dig in the right place, we'll get the treasure, right? So we need to seek it like it's treasure. And if we have that right attitude, if we do these 8 things, the result is we will understand the awe of the Lord. That's first priority. And then we'll find knowledge of God too. Isn't that tremendous? Wow. See, but it's not just knowledge for knowledge's sake. It's just not knowledge. It's not the end in itself. It's what should lead us to God. Because I used to like to have knowledge. And for a while I operated on the basis, and maybe some of you did too, where knowledge saved me. The more knowledge I had, the more secure I was. And for a while I lived and I got knowledge for knowledge's sake. But then I realized that knowledge puffs up. Love builds up. Because knowledge, the puffing up and the building up, from the outside, it looks the same. It looks the same. But when there's a crisis, if it's puffed up, if there's a crisis, what happens? It explodes. It just blows up like a balloon. It's no good. It doesn't work. But if you are built up on love, see, love, it implies that you do something about it. See, love is just not, love is action. Love is giving. Love produces results. Love is acting on the results. Not just sitting there with knowledge in your head. I have this wonderful knowledge. Well, what good does that do you? Doesn't do anything until you do something about it, right? See? But I used to think the more knowledge I had, the more important I was. That's not true. The more you do, then the more you're valuable. See? Otherwise, if all we have is knowledge, it's not much more worth than that potty I had with me. We don't want knowledge for knowledge's sake. We want knowledge so we can learn about God. We want knowledge so we can do. We want knowledge so we can act upon it. Look at Proverbs chapter 8. Proverbs chapter 8. The book of Proverbs is full of wonderful stuff about the reverence of God. Proverbs chapter 8, verse 10. It says, receive my instruction, and not silver, and knowledge rather than choice gold, for wisdom is better than rubies, and all the things that may be desired are not to be compared to it. I, wisdom, dwell with prudence. You know her, right? And find out knowledge of witty inventions. You see how things work. The reverence of the Lord, the awe of the Lord is to hate evil, pride, and arrogancy, and the evil way, and the perverse mouth. So if we have awe, if we have respect, if we have reverence for God, we are going to eschew evil. We're not going to peacefully coexist with it. We're going to hate it. If you look at the life of Jesus Christ, it's very interesting. He never let anyone say anything wrong in his presence. He would not condone it with lack of response. If somebody said something wrong in his presence, he corrected them. If somebody said something right in his presence, he would establish it. It's interesting. So we don't coexist peacefully with evil or pride or arrogancy or the evil way of doing something or the perverse way of speaking. If we have awe and respect and reverence for God, we won't put up with that. We just won't put up with it. It doesn't mix right. We can't peacefully coexist with it. Yeah. Interesting, isn't it? Proverbs chapter 9. Verse 9. Give instruction to a wise man, and he will be yet wiser. It's not like, I know enough, I don't need to know anymore. No, baloney. It's like filet mignon. It's like lobster. It's like all those delicacies. It's like caviar, if you like that. I don't, but anyway. Give instruction to a wise man, and he'll be yet wiser. Teach a just man, and he will increase in learning. Then it says, verse 10, the awe and reverence and respect of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom. See, wisdom's wonderful to have. Boy, if you know how things work, if you know how to apply stuff, you can get really far in this life. But why do you have it? The awe, the respect, and reverence of the Lord is the fountainhead. It's the inception. It's the beginning. It's the basis for wisdom. And the knowledge of the holy is understanding. For by me, by wisdom, thy days shall be multiplied, and the years of your life will be increased. That's a wonderful benefit, isn't it? Look at Proverbs 14, verse 26. In the reverence, in the awe, and the respect of the Lord is strong confidence. That's one of the benefits. If we receive God's word with the right motivation, if we obey God because he's so wonderful, because he is to be respected, if we are acting out of awe for God instead of fear for consequences, then our life will produce strong confidence. We will have strong confidence. You see how the logic of that fits? Because if we do things because of fear of consequences, we're not going to have strong confidence in our life, will we? But if we do things at the inception, at the beginning, if the reason for, if the wellspring, if the fountainhead of our knowledge is respect and awe for God, if that's why we're doing what we do, then the end result will be strong confidence in our life. You see how that fits? See? And his children shall have a place of refuge. When the world kicks us to the curb and all we have is a potty, God will take care of us. We'll have a refuge. The fear of the Lord, the reverence, the respect, the awe of the Lord is a fountain of life. See how that all fits with the beginning of knowledge. And then what that produces. We have long life. We have all those wonderful results. It's a fountain of life. But if it is that, it's to depart. It's not just a fountain of life to just live and be free and do everything. Freedom has boundaries too, right? And one of the boundaries is to depart from the snares of death. Those things that cause us to fall. Proverbs chapter 15. Proverbs chapter 15, verse 31. The ear that heareth the reproof of life abides among the wise. Oh, I don't want to hear that. How many of you like to be reproved? I mean, that implies that you've screwed up, right? And now somebody is telling you that you've screwed up, or God is telling you you've screwed up. Well, we've fallen, we've been kicked to the curb. How many of you like to hear reproof? Well, if we have awe and respect for God, if our motivation is that, instead of fear of consequences, we'll be able to receive the reproof with the right attitude. See, the fear of consequences will block our reception of that knowledge, while the awe and respect of God motivation will receive it. The ear that hears the reproof of life abides among the wise. He that refuses instruction despises his own soul. Why? Because we're doing something wrong. We need instruction. If we don't want to receive it, we're despising our own life. You see the right perspective? He that hears reproof gets understanding. Because you see how to apply stuff. The reverence, the awe, the respect of the Lord is the instruction of wisdom, and before honor is humility. We want the honor part. We like that. But part of that is being humble enough that when we've fallen, that we receive the instruction that we need to get back up on our feet. And we have that proper attitude, that awe and respect for God. You see how all this fits? Isn't that deep? Proverbs 16 is another one. Verse 6, it says, by mercy and truth iniquity is purged, and by the reverence, the awe, the respect of the Lord, men depart from evil. If you have awe and respect for the Lord, you'll depart from evil. You'll eschew all those things that talked about earlier in Proverbs. And then mercy and truth will purge the sin in our life. Mercy is not giving us the consequences that we deserve. That's nice, isn't it? Instead of running into the brick wall, God catches us before we hit. And truth, we get instruction so that it purges, it cleanses that problem in our life. Well, those are good things, aren't they? Sure. But in order to receive them, we need to have the right attitude of that awe and that respect for God. You see how everything flows from that? Verse 16, how much better is it to get wisdom than gold, and to get understanding rather to be chosen than silver? The highway of the upright is to depart from evil. The highway. What is a highway? That's where all the encumbrances have been cleared, and all the potholes have been filled. It's a little bit easier to traverse. The highway is to depart from evil. We don't peacefully coexist with it. He that keeps his way, his pathway, preserves his soul. And if we don't want that, well, pride goes before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. We'll get kicked to the curb and all we'll have is a potty. Psalm 34. You know what I like to do when I do a word study is I like to find a place where the words that I am studying cluster. Because that is then, it's as important as the first occurrence. If you're doing a word study, many times you look up the first occurrence of something. Well, I always like to look for a place where the term is repeated. Psalm 34 is a place where awe, reverence, respect is repeated. It is the subject of Psalm 34. Verse 1, I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise shall be continually in my mouth. My soul shall make her boast in the Lord. The humble shall hear thereof and be glad. O magnify the Lord with me, and let us exalt his name together. Having that awe, having that respect, seeing his wonderfulness. Verse 4, I sought the Lord, and he heard me and delivered me from all my fears. Now this, of course, is the other meaning for the word fear. Verse 5, they looked unto him and were lightened. They were radiant, and their faces were not ashamed. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of all of his troubles. Verse 7, the angel of the Lord encamps round about them that reverence him, that have that awe, that respect for God, and delivers them. It's a benefit. Oh, taste and see, the Lord is good. Blessed is the man that trusts in him. These are all expressions based upon that awe and that respect. Oh, reverence the Lord, ye his saints, for there is no want to them that reverence him. See how many times fear has been repeated so far? See, this psalm is about reverence and all the benefits of it. The young lions, they lack. Now, the young lions are able physically to get whatever they want, but they lack. They suffer hunger, but they that seek the Lord shall not want any good thing. Come, ye children, hearken to me, and I will teach you the reverence, the awe, the respect of the Lord. Here it is. What man is he that desires life and loves many days that he may see good? Here's how to respect God. Here's how to have awe for God. Keep your tongue from evil and your lips from speaking guile. Step 1. Step 2. Here's how to have awe and respect for God. Depart from evil and do good. Seek peace and pursue it. Here's how to have respect for God. The eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous. So we're cognizant of his presence. We're cognizant that he's watching. And his ears are open to their cry. We're cognizant that he's present, and we ask him, we talk to him. It's an expression of our awe and our respect for him. Verse 16, here's how to be cognizant of awe and respect for God. The face of the Lord is against them that do evil, to cut off the remembrance of them from the earth. So we're cognizant of his hatred of evil. Verse 17, here's how we respect God. The righteous cry, and the Lord hears, and delivers them out of all their troubles. All of them. We just don't give him the biggies. We give him all. And then when we fall, the Lord is nigh unto them that are of a broken heart, and saves such as of a bruised spirit. Verse 19, many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them out of them all. Why do we have so many problems? Why do we have all these things? Because we're standing against the wind. We're walking against the current. We happen to live in an evil world run by an evil landlord, right? The adversary. He don't like us. And when we stand up and eschew evil and stand for God, we have to put up with stuff in the potty. We have to put up with stuff. I'm trying to milk that for as much as I can. Anyway, So that's why many are the afflictions of the righteous. Do you understand? But it's worth it because we reverence God. That's our reason for standing, because we love God. Verse 20, He keeps all His bones and not one of them is broken. Now this is a prophecy about Jesus Christ, but in this context, God saves us from the real terrible things that could happen. Evil shall slay the wicked, and they that hate the righteousness shall be desolate. But the Lord redeems the soul of His servants, and none of them that trust Him shall be desolate. See, the end product of our reverence and our respect for God is we will not be desolate. We will have what we need. Without God, life's a potty. But with God, it's a party. Okay? Now, there's some other words for fear in Hebrew. There's the word pashad. Here's a good one, Proverbs 3:25. Go there, Proverbs chapter 3, in verse 25. And it says, Be not afraid of sudden fear, neither the desolation of the wicked when it comes. See, fear is not good. Fear, we don't want to have fear in our life. You know, fear is sand in the machinery of life. Fear is rust in your zipper. Fear is nicking in your squeegee. Fear is a virus in your computer. We don't want to have fear. That kind of fear is bad. It's something to be delivered from. Like it said in Psalm 34, I sought the Lord and He delivered me from all my fears. All my fears. See, we don't want to peacefully coexist with fear. Job 3:25. Here's why everything happened negative to Job. Job 3:25, it says, For the thing which I greatly feared is come upon me. That which I was afraid of has come unto me. See, fear produces results, negative results. And so we don't want to peacefully coexist with fear. We need to root it out wherever we find it in our life. It must be recognized, confronted, and eliminated. It needs to be flushed down the body. Why? Because fear is like gangrene. It's like cancer. It will spread and it will infect because that is its nature. And our culture is saturated with fear. Fear has many different forms. For example, peer pressure is fear. It's fear of rejection. Apathy is based on fear. It's based on a fear of failure, so people don't want to even try. So we need to recognize fear when we see it. Condemnation. That's fear motivation. Shame. See. Procrastination. That's based on fear. Fear of facing something. Okay? Or to escape from shame. That's what procrastination is based on. Sometimes substance abuse could be based on escape from fear. People are afraid of commitment. They're afraid of humbling themselves or submitting themselves to God. Our life is full of fear. And we should not coexist with any of it peacefully. We need to eschew evil. If we have reverence and respect and awe for God, then we get rid of the opposite kind, the fear. You understand? See how that fits? We need to recognize it, see how it works, because the counteraction for all kinds of fear is just instruction. See, if we saw how things really were, if we saw how things really were spiritually, how God's providing for us, how He's so powerful, how He's so wonderful, we wouldn't fear anything. Our Father has cattle on 1,000 hills, right? He's given us all things that pertain to life and godliness. We have everything we need. Our bank account's full. We just need to read the statement. That's what the Word of God is. So therefore, we need the data to cure the fear. Because fear is eliminated by right instruction. So, if you have fear in your life, find it and take a bite out of it. Get rid of it. Don't peacefully coexist with any form of fear. Because it's like cancer. Heal yourself of it. And if you need help, get help. It's not bad to ask for help if you need help. But it is bad to sit there and not get it cured. See? It's like a sliver in your mind. Well, what happens to slivers? They get infected. Look at Mark chapter 4. This is really interesting. Verse 40. Jesus said to them, "Why are you so fearful? How is it that you have no faith?" Where we have fear, we can't have faith. So that's a good reason to get rid of it, right? See. Look at 1 John chapter 4. Verse 16. It says, "We have known and believed the love that God hath to us. God is love. And he that dwells, abides, remains, is cognizant of, fills his life with love, dwells in God and God in him." Of course, we have to understand, this is agape love. This is not phileo love. This is not the love that the records and the radio and the TV and all the shows and the movies talk about. No. This love is agape love. It's totally different. It's not based on emotions. It's based on a decision. We decide to love God and then we act. Love is bold. Love is a commitment. Love is a relentless devotion that stems from the absolute admiration of one so great that we're absolutely sure about our commitment to him. That's what agape is. It's relentless devotion. It's, I've decided to love you, and there's nothing you can do to make me stop. That's the love of God. That's commitment, see? And so we dwell in that. We act upon what God's taught us. Verse 17, herein, in that dwelling, in that remaining, in that abiding, herein is our love made perfect. It's ended. It's reached its goal that God intended for it when he first loved us, that we respond with his love. And if we do that, herein, if we dwell in that love, then our love is made perfect, it's fulfilled, it's reached its proper goal, which is that we may have boldness in man's day. Boldness now. Why? Because as he is, so are we in this world. You know what that means? We love like he loves. He loved us to begin with. We respond. We respond with that love. And now we love horizontally with the same kind of love that God loves us with vertically. Then we are as he is in this world. Verse 18, there is no fear in love. There is no fear. Can't coexist. But perfect love casts out fear. Because fear has torment. You know what the word torment means? It's the Greek word kolasis, which means to cut short, to prune, to restrain, to have restraint, to hold back. See, you can't be bold and have fear. You understand? Fear holds you back. It's restraining. You're not all the way there yet. But if we love, love is bold. Love's a commitment. Love's relentless. See? So we build that awe and that respect in our life. We walk for God. We live for God. And we have that boldness. And we crowd out fear in every way. We have no torment, no restraint. We love like God loves. That's the goal. So if anything is stopping us from living like that, is anything stopping you? Is anything holding you back? It'll be fear in some form. So root it out. See how it works? Counteract it with instruction. Take a bite out of it. Put it in the potty and flush it down. Because the moral of this teaching is, if the world has ever dumped us to the curb and all we have is a potty, don't fear. Love God and He will take care of us. Bless you.